Welcome to another episode of Driepoot. This is our hunting podcast with three friends from three different continents. In Pretoria, the capital city of South Africa, is Valntyn van der Merwe. Valntyn, welcome to the program.
Hello, Danie. Hello, Jan.
And then in Perth, Australia, at the moment, it is almost 8 p.m. in Australia. Jan van der Kerk in his hunting store in Perth. Welcome, Jan.
Hello, Danie. Hello, Valntyn.
So we are three friends. Driepoot is a traditional African pot which we like to cook on an open fire. It has three legs, and this Driepoot is standing with one leg in Australia, one leg here in Athens, Georgia, and one leg in Pretoria, or did I say, yeah, Perth, Pretoria, and Athens, Georgia. And so we like to sit around a campfire and talk about hunting. So Valntyn is in his reloading room. Jan is in his gun shop, the shooter's shed in Perth, and I sit here in my workshop in Athens, Georgia, and we love to discuss matters hunting. The South African hunting season has just opened on the 1st of May. It's an interesting thing that the hunting season in, I guess, Valntyn, am I correct? The whole of South Africa happens during all the months that does not have an R in them. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so in America,
that doesn't have an R.
Yes, in America, each state has their own hunting season, and sometimes they open and close and open and close. So you have to keep an eye, and even different counties. So like my county here, we have, I think, an extra 2 weeks of deer hunting than some other countings in Georgia, but in South Africa, things are simple. If a month doesn't have an R in it, you can hunt. So you are ready to go for your first hunt. You didn't wait long, 3 weeks into the hunting season, you're going to hunt. And so later on, you must tell us what and where. But first of all, you got ready for this hunt today. So can you tell us a little bit about the procedures and so on of this getting ready for the hunt, please?
Yes, Donnie, absolutely. Just to catch on with you regarding the simplicity, we have the same hunting season throughout South Africa, and we have one time zone as well. But yes, at least we have a lot of different hunting opportunities and types of bushfield and plains game, and so we have a different variety that's quite nice and unique to South Africa. So as you said, it's the second week of hunting season, and I'm actually heading out next week to go and hunt myself. So what I always do just the week before especially is just to go to the range and to make sure. I go to the range for three main reasons, and the first reason being is just to make sure that my scope is shooting accurately and at the proper place. So I go to sight my scope properly. That's the first thing, and I'll usually do that from a bench. And the second thing is just to get a bit of confidence for next week's hunt. There's nothing as good as to build your confidence when shooting precisely at the range day. So that's a good thing to get that confidence just before you go out to hunt. The second thing, so the first thing is just to sight my rifle, and the second thing is to build that confidence, and the third important thing is just to the way you shoot or the methods you're going to use while shooting or while hunting, just to practice that for the last time just before you go hunting. So I shoot from shooting sticks. So I took mine with this morning, and just to practice shooting from those shooting sticks. So it's two reasons. I firstly just practice again how to, or where I want to rest my rifle on these three sticks, and the reason being is I try to get the mass middle point of my rifle that makes it much easier to stay on target and to be properly and even if it's sometimes you need a lot of time or just to stand there and just to wait for the antelope or the deer to get in position before you can shoot. So that helps a lot when you know how to position your rifle. And secondly, you don't have much time, so just to practice shooting a little bit faster than from a bench where you want to shoot as accurate as possible. So that's the three main reasons for the range. But I can say to this morning went quite well. It was you as hunters know, sometimes you get good days on the rifle range, and other days it's not going so well, but today was a good day at least.
Yes, and now you go into the hunt with confidence. And even, I mean, we all wound animals sometimes, and we want to try and avoid that at all costs. But at least you've checked all the boxes to make sure that you're as confident as you can be, and the muscle memory is back from last year's hunt and so on. So you've checked all the boxes.
Yeah, it starts from the reload stage, from doing that properly and ensuring that that's sorted, that your ammunition is precise, and then your rifle is precise and the sights is spot on, and then the practice makes perfect type of idea. There's nothing that builds confidence like practicing and getting range time in.
Jan, specifically, cost is a thing. I know my hunting friend here has a Lapua, and they go at $6 a shot. So you don't want to spend way too much time on the range. There are some ways that one can practice cheaply. Is that right?
Yeah, Danie. I think that's where dry firing drills really add value to our preparation for hunting. There's a lot of things that you can do without having to fire around through the barrel. And the whole idea with these drills is to build up the muscle memory, like you guys mentioned before, and to automatically, without thinking, do the right thing. Pick up the rifle without a waste of any time, getting it directly on the target to allow you more time to squeeze the trigger. If you practice these bits and pieces, you'll see that there's a lot more time when you come across something that you want to shoot at for you to place the shot properly. And these dry fire drills are really valuable if you spend the time to practice them. There's snap caps that one can use if you're concerned about the firing pin on your rifle. You don't have to worry about that too much. You can even use an empty cartridge case. You can hit it 3 or 4 times and then exchange it for another case. Part of good practice is to make sure that if you excise your ammunition, that you haven't got a case among your cases that wouldn't fit in the rifle. Because sometimes if a round was fired in a chamber that's a little bit larger than your rifle, when you close the bolt, you can't close the bolt, and it might be at a very crucial time that you need a round in the chamber. So it's good practice to make sure that all your rounds feed properly through your rifle as well.
Yes. I think here about the deer stands in America. So you obviously, Valentyn, you're communicating, practicing muscle memory and systems when you're hunting on foot and you're going to walk and stalk.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, with the deer stand too, it's going to be so valuable for me for once this year, have time to sit in the stand and to just go through the motions a little bit. Before I knew, I was in a stand and I was sitting there thinking, will I take rest on this thing in the front? Or, when the deer comes, you almost don't remember, how did I shoot, and that's not a good thing. You should check a few more boxes.
Especially so we do shoot from a walk and stalk. That's what I do most often. So that's what I practice the most often. But we do sometimes shoot from a vehicle as well. It depends on the type of farm and if it's plains game or whatever the case may be, sometimes you do shoot from a vehicle. That's something else that you need to practice. It's a bit more like bench shooting then, but shooting from a height as well. There's especially the height of the heights or the shooting area is a little bit smaller most of the times. So it's good practice to practice all of those.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about where you will be shooting, what species you will be hunting, and maybe your friends and so on.
We actually had an auction. Friends of mine had an auction in Alisaras, which is in northern parts in the Limpopo province, and they won the auction, or they were the highest bid. So so we're going to hunt in Swart Water, which is translated as black water, which is just east of west of Alisaras. And it's nice bushfield. It's a walk and stalk, and they have a variety of animals on this farm, from buffalo. They have buffalo as well, and eland, and they have a lot of variety of species, but we're mostly going to focus on impala and blue wildebeest, and maybe a nice eland or two. We'll see what the field will deliver, but or maybe even a waterbuck. Is that proper English?
Yes, I think it's.
But yeah, we'll see what the bush delivers. Yeah, and we are looking forward to next week's hunt.
Excellent.
Really looking forward.
How many hunters in your group, Valentyn?
We're a bunch of 5 friends. Our one group is called the Big Five. So we're a group of 5 friends that comes from school. We've became bigger from school, so that's why it's the Big Five. So I'm really looking forward to hunting with a few of my friends.
Okay, so I just want to mention something, and that's a term in South Africa, is that you will hunt, and if someone says what you're going to hunt, you're going to say, you'll say, I will see what the field gives me. And it's such a beautiful term because of the variety we have, as you mentioned, Valentyn. So we have in the other continents, we have other advantages, but the African advantage is that the variety. So you should not. So that is your game plan also, Valentyn. Rather than to be strict and say, I'm going to hunt this species, you will see what the field gives you. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely that's the main thing. It doesn't. Otherwise, you'll just be walking the whole long weekend or couple of days, and you'll see all of a bunch of animals, but you're looking for a specific species and you end up shooting nothing. So what the field gives, see what you can get, and shoot the best, biggest, most beautiful one you can.
Yeah. Jan, I'm thinking about buffalo versus wildebeest. What is you know what the name for the wildebeest is for people with
the poor man's buffalo.
Poor man's buffalo, yes. Look, it's a nice species, isn't it? Have you hunted wildebeest, Jan?
I've hunted them before. They are really, really tough animals. If you don't hit them in the right spot, you're gonna do a lot of walking. That's for sure. And they can be aggressive too. I've seen brindled newt, coming out towards hunters that once they're wounded, if you approach them, they will go for you. So you need to be careful around them. If they got hit, they're not for no reason called the poor man's buffalo. They do display some of the traits that you see on the Cape buffalo.
They have really thick skin as well, and really high density bones. So usually when I make sure I have a really good quality bullet when I do hunt wildebeest, because they are really tough and they have these huge hearts, really big hearts. So even if you shoot them at the perfect place, sometimes they can go quite far before they'll lay down.
Yeah, that's I don't want to jinx myself. Look, I've wounded everything, but I'm still good on the blowable abuse. So I'm not going to shoot blowable abuse soon, but I've done kind of okay. But like you say, when you shoot at Valentine, I mean, it's as if you think, okay, I'm totally missed. It doesn't show any indication sometimes that you hit the target, before it goes down 200 yards later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the nice species to shoot. Really enjoy shooting them.
Also, I've done the mathematics. Well, not me. My son has done the mathematics on the rand per kilogram for the average weight of species. And you cannot, if you are hunting for the meat of antelope in South Africa, you cannot do much better rand per kilogram wise than hunting blowable abuse. That's going to convert to the most meat for the least amount of money. Valentyn, so all the best for the hunt of the weekend in Swartwater. We look forward to hearing good results and some pictures, please, that we'll put up next time about what you've hunted and so on, please.
Absolutely looking forward, but I'll share some photos for everyone.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good luck.
I had the privilege to attend an SCI meeting, Safari Club International meeting in Atlanta, and I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback to you guys about that because it was an interesting day. As a South African hunter, and of course I've hunted a little bit in America, just to be around American hunters and to hear what they talk about was very interesting. It was mainly a fundraising event for the Georgia chapter of SCI. Interesting evening with an auction with some good money. I think about $50,000 was collected for the work of SCI Georgia. So that was the one thing. What struck me as a South African specifically, and maybe it's normal for Americans, but the humility of senior, important, well-known politicians in America struck me really hard. So the governor of Georgia was there, Kemp, signed some legislation, which I will talk about now. And without much fanfare, arrived, in jeans and a shirt, which is different to what we're accustomed to. And really something that Americans can appreciate is the humility of their politicians. Halfway through the evening, I spotted, without any announcement, I spotted the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, in the Trump administration. Now, to us three South Africans, that is a super important person. And they didn't announce that he was there. He was there with his wife, chatting to people, and just a normal, common man. And for me as a South African, where politicians are so, not only are they placed on a pedestal, but they place themselves on a pedestal with the fanfare that they would arrive at events. And you could also see that they are aware of the fact that they are with the people that they serve instead of having to be served by these people. It's just a whole different mindset. But that's maybe non-hunting issues that I wanted to just share with you two as South Africans. So a very good fundraising event. Governor Kemp signs legislation, and Jan, you must maybe come into this because it has to do with some calibers and the names of some calibers. The SCI president spoke a little bit. Man, is this this guy is the most experienced hunter ever. I think he needs one more species, which will be his number 219, I think, which will then make him one of, I think, about 100 people in the last 100 years that have shot these 219 species. So he's going to now belong to this club. I think it's some kind of mountain goat in Spain that he needs to go hunt, and then he'll belong to this club.
That's amazing.
it's absolutely amazing, but it's a good
That's
thing
amazing.
that SCI has such an experienced hunter as the president of the SCI. I cannot think of anyone else taking care of the business of SCI better than that. The other thing that he specifically mentioned is that if you own a rifle, you should belong to the NRA. And if you hunt, you should belong to the SCI. That just made total sense to me. But Jan, back to the calibers. So Governor Kemp signed legislation that reduced the muzzle load caliber from a 0.44 down to a 0.30. So I think you will understand the logic. The one logic is obviously it's beautiful that you give muzzleloaders chance a week before in Georgia to hunt before other hunters to just keep the traditions going. But talk to us a little bit firstly about the caliber reduction, what you think the logic of that is, and then also just maybe the names of some other calibers that will be interesting to us, please.
Danie, you're in a very fortunate position there. It's so refreshing to hear of legislation that's relaxed rather than tensed up further.
Tighten,
and I
yeah,
think the big advantage of, well, from hunting perspective for the muzzleloaders is that there's so many more muzzleloaders that actually qualify now for hunting in that part of the season. And, you know, a lot of those Kentucky guns that was the sort of the forefathers of the long-range rifles were smaller caliber guns. They weren't necessarily 44s and bigger. And I think they finally realized that, you know, if you place a decent sized projectile in the right spot, it's just as devastating as having a larger size caliber just a little bit off the mark. And it's really good that you in that position that you can hunt with smaller calibers now, because the recoil on those are lower, the running costs are lower. And I think, you know, a lot of people would probably practice a bit more if the recoil is a little bit lower. And these smaller caliber black powder guns and Pyrodex guns will definitely have less recoil than the larger calibers, and it will shoot flatter trajectories. So I think it's a really good thing. Incidentally, we talk about calibers, you know, you talk about 44 and 30 caliber. So at the risk of stating the obvious, it's probably good just to have a look at what we talk about when we mention certain calibers. Now, from an American or an English perspective, a lot of these calibers refer to the diameter of the projectile as part of an inch. So 0.44 means 0.44 of an inch. So if you want a millimeter designation for that caliber, you need to multiply 0.44 by 25.4 to convert it to millimeters, where the European countries are more metric and more used to the SI system. So something like a 7 by 64 would probably would refer to a rifle that fires a projectile with a diameter of 7 millimeters, or around about there, in a case where the case length is 64 millimeters. So we talked about the 306 Springfield and mentioned that it's a 30 caliber projectile, so it's 0.30 of an inch. In a case that was accepted in 1906, and with a reference to the company or the people that was involved in developing it. So, but there's a metric designation for that too, and that's 7.62 by 63. So you did get more than one designation for certain calibers, but we know it as the 306 Springfield. We talked about Springfield. There's also calibers that was promoted by Winchester and Remington, and then there's more proprietary type cartridges like the JDJs that the guys use in Thompson Center handguns typically, and things like the Sabi, that was rifles that's built in Nelspruit in South Africa, which have a certain number of proprietary cartridges, such as the 338 Sabi, which is a very close approximation of the 318 Wesley Richards, or the 270 Sabi, which is basically a 308 case with a 277 projectile out of it. And that was developed long before something like the 260 came on the market. But the main thing with proprietary cartridges is the dies are always more expensive and a little bit harder to get to. Now, we talked about black powder rifles, and Pyrodex is basically a equivalent for black powder that can be used in modern muzzleloaders. You can install telescopic sights on muzzleloaders for the hunting in your area there if you ever wanted to. But I think the main thing is that talking about muzzleloaders, that brings us on to shotguns. You talked about different caliber denominations for shotguns, and shotguns are a little bit weird because there's a caliber designation for the 410, which is actually referring to the 0.410 inch diameter of the cartridge. Right. But the rest of the shotguns, we talk about a 12 bore or a 10 bore or a 28 bore. So the question is, what does that mean? And it simply means that if you have a pound of lead, how many cylindrical balls can you make out of it for that specific cartridge? So with a 12 gauge, you can make 12 balls of equal size out of a pound of lead. So the smaller your designation, if you go to an 8 bore or a 4 bore, it means the bigger the projectile becomes. So 4 bore, you basically it's a quarter pounder. To talk about McDonald terms there, it's a quarter pound of lead in one ball. So you don't want to be in front of it, but I think you should consider whether you want to be behind it as well, because it will definitely have a bit of recoil to it.
Absolutely.
Does that sort of address most of the questions there?
Definitely, yes. Valentyn, do you have another question?
No, I was just about to say that I think that 4 bore will hit the white off your teeth, but
absolutely.
Have to get used to it. So, Jan, have you seen I've seen recently that Nosler has developed the 28 Nosler and the 13 Nosler as well. Have you seen it in Australia or not yet?
I'm aware, Valentyn, I'm aware of them, and I know that you can order them. Dies are definitely a problem. I don't know a single person that actually owns one of these, but they are very, very similar to weather beasts. They are made to deliver high velocities, so they tend to burn barrels a little bit. And I think in Australia, where it's difficult to change barrels, not as easy as in the USA, you really have to want one of those specifically to make it worthwhile to get one. But they sound like they are really good calibers, and I've seen them on the shot show in Vegas, and I've looked at the rounds. It'd be lovely to be in a position to buy one of those and just change barrels whenever you like, without having to go through all the hoopla with paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you've mentioned now the paperwork. Is it similar as in South Africa, where if you want to change a barrel, it's basically like almost applying for a new license, or is it the same thing?
Yeah, the replacement here, it's a little bit easier than getting a new gun on your license, but there's still a bit of paperwork that has to be done. It's I know that some of the competition shooters in the USA would when they decide to rebarrel their guns, or they prepare for the season, they would buy 10 barrels and they thread them all and chamber them all, and they shoot them and get rid of the two worst ones and keep the 2 best ones for competition and practice with the rest of them. So it's a good position to be in. Unfortunately, we're not in that position here either.
So Danie, you are really lucky.
Well, in certain ways, but also not in all ways. Like the variety of species that you can hunt in South Africa remains to be, I think, the ultimate hunting destination, and the thing that one can look forward to. So thank you guys for a wonderful episode. It was so interesting to chat with you guys around the campfire. Well, hopefully one day we will do that again together. Valentijn, we wish you all the best with your hunt, and looking forward to it. Almost give us ball by ball commentary as you shoot something. Could you send it through to us? And hopefully next week we will report. We might have to miss an episode because next week you're in the hunting field. Maybe you know, if reception is good, we could maybe have a 5 minutes with you in the field.
That'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. To the people looking at this podcast, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, also to like the Facebook page. We try and keep that interesting. Driepoot. Also, I have some people here that are really doing hard work to pronounce the word correctly, and they're doing great with that. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Jan, for you in Perth, and Valentijn for you in Pretoria. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Keep well.